Good evening. I was thinking, being doers of the word, that can be challenging. This morning on the way to services, we were sitting in the car and had some time. It was me and the boys, and we're going over a specific passage that we're trying to work on as a family, and it's Psalm 73, 25 and 26. Whom have I in heaven but you? There is nothing on earth that I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. There's nothing on earth that I desire besides you. We stopped and I just kind of mentioned it just as we're driving down the road. I just said, when we make that statement, when David is saying there's nothing on earth that I desire besides you, there are a lot of things that we desire on this earth. And we went through and discussed. I said, but do we love God more than all of these? At that moment, I hear a pop and something falls off my car that was a metal clang, and we kept going. But I thought, I guess it's not important because we made it here and it came here again tonight. But something popped and I heard a clang. But the moment I said, there's nothing on earth that I desire besides you. And I thought, I desire to have a working car. The moment we're talking about this, it just hit. There are going to be times where we're going to be challenged on Scripture when it comes to being doers of the Word. And I just found that to be just ironic even within that moment. I really do think I drove over something. But anyway, just the concept of being challenged when it comes to reading and studying and being a doer of the Word, that concept was not lost on me. The lesson that we looked at this morning of living in harmony with others, the idea of truly turning the other cheek, that is a challenge to put into practice. Because when you stop and you think about it, it takes more effort. It takes more strength to show restraint in a situation when you're faced with retaliation than actual retaliation. It's a stronger person that can actually not do that can actually follow through with what Jesus has said, being a doer of the word. It's a challenge. And I thought about 1 John 5, verses 1 through 5, and it really establishes the point. May we have the faith that says Jesus said it, that settles it. Because what happens is we read passages like this and say, I know it says that, but if Jesus says it, that settles it. And I believe it. 1 John 5, 1 says, everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has been born of God. Now there's a lot to unpack here, because when we talk about the idea of believing that Jesus is the Christ, it's not just this ethereal belief and then all of a sudden I'm good. This word here for belief means something so much more. It means a doing of that statement. If I believe that Jesus is the Christ, I'm going to be born of God. Notice it says, and everyone who loves the Father loves whoever has been born of him. By this we know that we love the children of God, when we love God and obey his commandments. Do you see how believing that Jesus is the Christ means we're going to obey his commandments? So when we hear what Jesus has said, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's listening to what he says. I'm going to either believe it and do it, or I'm not going to believe it and I'm not going to practice it. There's no middle ground. But notice it says, and his commandments are not burdensome. For everyone who has been born of God overcomes the world. And this is the victory that has overcome the world, our faith. May we have the faith that says Jesus said it, that settles it, and I believe it. Verse 5, who is it that overcomes the world except the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? When we believe that Jesus is the Son of God, we're going to be born of God. We're going to obey his commandments. Jesus himself said in Matthew 11:28, Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you'll find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. That's what John was reiterating when he said his commandments are not burdensome. Are we going to be challenged when it comes to following what Jesus has said? Yes, we will. But it comes down to whether we believe that Jesus is the Christ or not. When we do that, our actions will follow suit. Our faith will follow in every situation. But when we stop and we realize what we're questioning, when it comes to the burdensome commandments, what's the heaviest burden that we carry? Sin. And only through Jesus will that burden be lifted. I don't have to carry that burden anymore. If we kept reading in 1 John 5, we see that he literally removes the burden from us. The heaviest burden that we carry is our sin. And then my question for you tonight is, have you allowed Jesus to lift it from you? He was willing to take it all the way to the cross. And we simply deny ourselves, take up our cross daily and follow after him. That's not yesterday. That's not tomorrow. That's today. Today, are you taking up your cross? Today, are you a doer of the word? Today, has Jesus taken your burden to that cross? We have an invitation that we're offering to make sure that your life is right with God. Can we encourage you? Can we help you? If you have a need, please respond now while together we stand and while we sing.